and welcome to an introductory presentation on pseudocode by Michael Carey and myself, Zane West. What is pseudocode? Pseudocode is a design technique that has risen to popularity in computer science and mathematics fields, among many others. Pseudocode is a way of expressing line-by-line code in English rather than in the syntax of any given programming language. Pseudocode is often used for planning complex logic or algorithms without concerning the technical specifics of any programming language's coding syntax and practices. Essentially, pseudocode is about writing code that is intended for a human to read instead of writing code for a machine to compile. Pseudocoding can be a powerful practice and a great design strategy because it helps us focus on the plain logic of our algorithm first and coding practices second. Communication is everything, and pseudocode is one of the most powerful tools in the arsenal of any programmer. When a program's specifics need to be communicated to another, pseudocode is a preferred method. Reading code can be difficult and requires complete focus, whereas reading and sharing pseudocode with a peer is more similar to sharing a note written in good old English. Have you ever needed to explain a part of your program to somebody who wasn't a programmer? This can be difficult. Pseudocode will allow you to quickly and easily present and explain an algorithm or code snippet to someone who has never written a line of code in their life. With so many different design techniques competing for our attention, you might ask yourself, why should I care about pseudocode? Pseudocode thrives on simplicity. The entire process is about taking what is complicated, code, and transforming it into something many of us find easier to follow, English. Allow me to provide a real-world example. I have a friend who is a software engineer for a mortgage company. He engages every day in writing software that calculates complex mortgage analytics that, frankly, he doesn't understand at all, because he isn't a loan officer. However, he told me that he is able to present his algorithms to his coworkers in pseudocode, and they are able to work together to ensure that the calculations are being performed correctly by the software. By writing the code in human language first, the programmer safeguards against leaving out any important steps. Some programmers write pseudocode in a separate document, while others write directly in the programming language, using comments before the actual code. This provides a handy reference during coding and can quickly simplify debugging, especially when dealing with unfamiliar or older code. A flowchart is very similar to pseudocode in its purposes. They are both design techniques that allow for ease of presentation of complex code, but flowcharts have the advantage of being able to allow for diverging branches and paths. Pseudocode can only follow one path. Pseudocode's linear nature can make it a less appealing design tool to programmers and their peers alike. Pseudocode has also been known to provide an inaccurate picture of the coding process to those outside of the field. This can lead to peers not understanding why some code can take as long as it does to create. Pseudocode can appear deceptively simple and can even fool an experienced programmer into thinking a task will be easier than it is to write into compile-ready code. Arguably, one of the greatest weaknesses of pseudocode is its lack of any style or syntax standard. No pseudocode can be considered any better than any other because there is no mark to grade against. This lack of a standard means the examples of pseudocode that you'll find across your career will likely vary wildly in their structure and ultimately their effectiveness. So what does all this information mean for pseudocode? Allow me to explain a few places in the software development process where pseudocode fits in nicely. Pseudocode can be used to help a programmer simplify a complex algorithm and prepare them to write the compile-ready code. Pseudocode can be used to explain code to peers much easier than explaining compile-ready code. Pseudocode can be a powerful tool for teaching students about programming or logic in general. It allows a class to focus on their calculations and less on the language syntax. Leaving pseudocode translations of code in the comments has become a proper practice. This allows the developer, their peers, and code maintainers to understand code quicker than they could otherwise by reading the pseudocode before the compile-ready code.
Hi there, I'm Michael Carey, and I'm going to cover using pseudocode and translating that pseudocode into real live code that can compile and actually do some functional work. So first, I have this pseudocode that I've written out with this method stub in my controller for managing various user actions. And so I need to do an add phone number action using this particular object that will be passed in to this method. Now, something that's important to note is that it needs to be a post method so that when data is sent from the web to this method, it's handled in a message body post, and that information is authenticated so we know that it's good. The next thing I need is that, so I have log the calling method for debugging and tracking. Even though I didn't have the ampersand in there, but there you go, and tracking. Now I need to verify that the model state is valid, and if it is false, then I return the same model back to the original calling view, so that that same phone number is passed right back to them, and it doesn't go anywhere. If it is valid, then generate a secret token calling a change number request method using that user's identity context and the phone number that they provided. So then if that is all valid, so if the SMS service is valid, then I can build my message to the user, define the message for the phone number and to that message body, and send that message to that same user. I can then, after that's complete, I need to redirect to the page where the user can then verify that particular piece of information so they can verify and change their phone number. So here, in this particular case, HTTP post. So now I've defined that this particular method is going to be a post method. I then validate the forgery token for this particular method. So now I've added two levels or one level of authentication and validation for this particular method. I now need to add that debuggy that I just called out. And so this here will log this particular call, looking up this method name and reflecting it into the logger. From here, now I get to verify the model state details. So this here, oops, and we paste that there. So we validate that the model is valid. So if not valid, then return the same exact model back to the original calling method. So now we're past this point. It's succeeded. We have a good model. We then need to generate our token. And so we generate our SMS token using this calling method. So generate change phone number token async, passing in the user's context and their phone number. Once that's done, we then need to verify that we can send a message to them. So here we have this user manager checking to see if the SMS service is online. So if it is, we then generate an identity message. So here's the message that's going to be passed in. It has a destination, which is the phone number that was passed in from the user. So if we can check this model here, it has just one piece of information that's being passed in. It's the phone number. And then the body of the message is, so this would be your SMS text message. Your security code is : space and then that code. Once we've done that, that message is now ready to be sent. And so we send that out using this call. So we're using the user manager object, sending it to the service and sending the async message out. And then we go ahead and close out that method right there. And then we finalize with redirecting to the original, or to a new page. So that'll actually head to a new page over my views. So if I take a look at my manage here, you can see verify phone number. That will then redirect to this particular page when it's all complete, where the user can then enter in their phone number, or I mean the secret token, and validate that they were successful once they hit submit on that. So there is a little bit on how to use pseudocode and then write real live code that then can compile. So if I go ahead and hit build, you'll see that the whole code now compiles and it works as written. Thank you very much and have a great day.